2CH, Easy 1170.
Some of that great coast stuff there. And as I've said before, as we are making and creating these jingle packages in the studio, during the sessions and during the initial production for the originating station, in this case it was Coast in Los Angeles, we have no idea where these jingles are going to eventually wind up. And it's just fun to realize that, well, we made this thing in the studio and it went to LA and it ends up in Australia and all around the world. It's just, you just never know. But sadly, I must report that at 6 p.m. on June 10th, 2022, 2CH left the airwaves for the final time. That's right. This follows an 18-month legacy after the Sports Entertainment Network in Australia purchased the station in 2020. They had an unsuccessful digital broadcasting trial, and then finally they just said, no, I don't think so. But the jingles live on.
Listening, Easy 1170, 2CH Sydney.
Easy 1170 suggests I should be playing a song next that's nice and easy. Thought we'd go out of the norm here and try this one.
Let's take it nice and easy. It's gonna be so easy.
To the chairman of the board, Frank Sinatra there, and you hear in part of that song, you hear the finger snaps. He's doing the finger snaps along there. That's not an overdub. That's not another guy. That's Frank snapping his fingers right into the mic that he's singing into. And I guess they were lucky that he knew just how loud to do that, so it wasn't too distracting. But yeah, nice and easy. And it's easy to say thank you to all of our core listeners. In fact, we even have a little theme for that.
Rewound Radio, core listeners salute.
In reverse alphabetical order, we're thanking the United Kingdom, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Germany, France, Czech Republic, Canada, Belgium, Australia, and I left out the Philippines, so you can just insert that into the alphabetical order. I mean, you know, my last name starts with a W. I'm always at the end of the line, so I have empathy for things that are done strictly in alphabetical order, and very happy to turn it around every now and then. Moving along.
Rewound coast to coast.
It is definitely so. We are so happy that we are being joined today by Rewound listeners in Toledo, Ohio, and Glen Burnie, Maryland, Portland, Oregon, and Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. See you there in Seattle, Washington, and Richardson, Texas, Carlsbad, California, the Bronx, New York, Mattoon, Illinois, and Sacramento, California are along today. Hello, Farmington, Michigan, and Worcester, Massachusetts, also Brooklyn, New York. It's nice when we can light up all 5 boroughs on our little Rewound bingo card and yell bingo, so that always happens. Dundee, Florida, Gallatin, Tennessee. Hello, Houston, Texas, Scarborough, Maine. Are you getting the nice leaves there? I bet you are. Torrington, Connecticut, Warminster, Pennsylvania, and Roselle, Illinois. Vero Beach, Florida. Fort Mill, South Carolina is with us, and Danvers, Massachusetts is along today. We are happy and honored to see that you're listening in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Decatur, Illinois, Orlando, Florida, Falls Church, Virginia, Athens, Ohio, Sun City, Arizona, and Crawfordsville, Indiana, St. George, Utah, hello, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Omaha, Nebraska, Wilmington, Delaware, and Battle Creek, Michigan, just to mention a few. Well, let's mention a few more because just can't stop this. Campbellsville, Kentucky is along, and Clymer, New York is with us. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is along, too. There's just too many places to read. It would take the rest of the show to read all of them, but we're so happy to have you with us. You're making it a lovely day right here on Rewound.
When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight hurts my eyes.
Sure is. Thanks for making it a lovely day by hanging with me.
John Wolfert. Rewound Radio.
So, a lovely day. She is lovely. Somebody else is lovely too, don't you think? Apparently they do. So what is this story here? What was her name again? It was... Oh, Rita, put down your book. It would be nice to have a date with Rita, you know?
Wouldn't it be nice if we were older?
Oh, don't go to sleep. Don't go to sleep. You might miss something. You might miss Herb Alpert emoting. You know, he first did this on a TV special, and it became a hit because people saw it there.
You see, this guy's in love with you.
The sky's in love with you. Yes, it is. It's Rewound Radio. And back to your questions. Here he is again. It's
John Wolfert on Rewound Radio.
with yet another unterminable...
Jingle time.
Yeah, try fitting that word in that little space. It's, again, time to respond to questions and requests that have come flooding in here to Rewound Central over the last couple of weeks. I'm happy to get to all of these. This next one comes from our good friend Bart van Gogh in the Netherlands. Hi, Bart man. And Bart has written to say, I have a question about the WNBC melody. I've been told it originates from the church bells around the NBC studios. The story says that the bells have played the NBC logo, but a different story tells me the logo is based on the initial owner, which would have been the General Electric Company, and when you play the abbreviation GEC on an instrument, you hear the notes from the NBC logo. So my question is, what's the real story, just to get this sorted out once and for all? Well, thank you very much. Let us talk about the NBC chimes, if we can. Now, what you just heard there, that was the first sound to ever be awarded an audio trademark in the United States. And there's only about 100 of them. You have to have a really iconic, identifiable sound to qualify for that. So other examples would be the MGM lion that roars at the beginning of motion pictures from MGM, or the Jolly Green Giant going ho, 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 or even the old AOL thing that said, "You've got mail." Those were audio trademarks because they have to be distinct and not likely to be confused with anything else. And you have to have done your best to promote that sound, to identify it with your product, whatever it is. Well, in the early days of radio, obviously, the sound was what identified networks and stations. The print logo was not really a thing at that time, so NBC started using chimes as an identifier, but really not at first. So we're going to talk about how those three notes came to be. But first, I want to point out that in the beginning, stations like WNBC, which Bart is asking about here, didn't use the NBC chimes melody in their jingles. That really didn't happen until the 70s. Now, NBC, the network, did have a weekend service called Monitor, which was heard on a lot of stations across the country. And they did do a jingle with the NBC Chimes melody for that.
Keep in step with Monitor.
Singing Monitor to the tune of NBC. That was in the 60s. But as far as a local station jingle package, WNBC in this case, they really didn't do that until 1974 when they went to Pam's to get some of the classic WABC jingles resung for WNBC, because by 1974, WABC was not dealing with Pam's anymore, and about that time, cousin Bruce Morrow, made the move over to WNBC. So as part of that, they wanted to have some of that WABC atmosphere around him. And so they got some jingles then that did use the NBC Chimes melody.
66 WNBC.
And why not? And then, of course, they really rang their chimes on this one.
66 rings your chimes. WNBC. Awake up and away. 66, start your day. WNBC.
Well, the other thing that happened was, through the years, that became really the station's logo. And when they finally came to Jam in the 80s for jingles, we incorporated that actual chime into some of their jingles, including the famous Top of the Hour jingle. However, to make the chimes be in the same key that the jingle was in, we actually had to vary speed the chimes. We had to raise them up in speed so that they would come up in pitch. Why was the jingle not written in the right key to go with the chimes? I don't know. But that's why they sound a little different here. And of course, we kept chiming it up in other packages for them as well.
66 WNBC.
All right, so Bart's real question is, where did that melody come from? How did it originate? And the thing is that you have to go really, really, really far back into the early history of the NBC radio network, where they were doing, of course, in the early days, a lot of live dramas and concerts and variety shows and things. There was no television, so all those kind of shows were on the radio, and they would have a live announcer explaining to you what you were hearing and that you were listening to NBC. And I'm going to play you just a few seconds here from a little documentary on this subject that was done by a guy named Dallas Taylor, who has a podcast called 20,000 Hertz. They did an episode about the NBC.